So you've gone out, you've done your wild garlic foraging, and wherever you find wild garlic, you usually find lots and lots of it. So don't take everything, but take yourself a nice big bunch like this and you can make yourself wild garlic pesto, which is going to be delicious. So nice big bunch. You're actually after about 100 grams of it. That is going to be a bunch about this size. First thing though, we've got to wash it. Best idea here is to use a colander or something similar. Let's see what we've got. I think we're going to have to use a big sieve in this particular case. Just give it a gentle wash. Don't be too robust with it because we're using everything from the wild garlic, including the little delicate flowers which make it look really nice, and they are the most potent bitters you'll discover if you taste it for yourself. Just give it a good old rinse. Right, we're ready to give this a chop. Just a quick check you haven't got any sort of wilted leaves in there that you don't want to use. I think we're all right in this case. Basically we're going to chop it as finely as we can and then stick it, if we had a food mixer we would stick it into there and blitz it, and if you haven't you can do it with one of these, pestle and mortar, just to squash it down even more. But we're going to cheat a little bit because we have some we prepared earlier, but we'll come to that in a moment. Sharp knife. This one will do the job. We'll test how sharp it is as well. So this is some we put in a food mixer earlier. You can see it churns it all up nicely and you've got nice little bits that you can use in your pesto. So what we're going to do now is weigh out 100 grams of this. So you've got your 100 grams of wild garlic, and into that we're going to add the other things you need. Some lemon juice. It's just going to be a squirt. Some people use as much as like a tablespoon in it, but I think you're probably going to need about a teaspoon. It's really up to you, it's a bit of a taste thing. Same with the salt and pepper, you might want to put a bit of that in it as well. And then use some olive oil. You could use another oil, but olive oil is the best one for doing a pesto, I think. Right, so let's first of all pour that olive oil, 150 millilitres, around about. I think one of the other oils that you can use relatively successfully is rapeseed oil, but still going to stick with the olive oil in this case. How are we doing? A bit further to go yet? That's about it. It may have done very slightly more than we need there, but that's fine. We're not too precision about these things. Then we're going to get our nuts that we're going to use with this. Traditionally, pesto would have pine nuts with it. You get quite a few variations on that. You could go and forage some hazelnuts. You could use almonds. You could use all sorts of things, and we're going to use all sorts of things because we're cheating with the packet of nuts that are already chopped. We're going to need about 50 grams of these. So we'll weigh those out in a second. And weigh out our 50 grams. Just attempting it. There we go. Yeah, you guessed it. Going to add them in. Let's have our squirt of lemon. Oh, flying top. We're going to use a teaspoon in this case because my squirt, I like to be a bit more precise. Let's go for the teaspoon to start with. As I say, it's really a tasting. You can use as much or little as you like. We're going to put in a little bit of salt. Those are sea salt flakes, but again, it doesn't really matter. It could be any sort of salt you want to use. And a little bit of pepper as well. Some people in my family are big pepper fans. I'm not such a big pepper fan, so we're going to keep it at around about that. Then we're going to give it a good old stir. Wooden spoon's probably the best one for this one. And then if you think that's still a little bit gritty, even though the nuts in this particular case are all nicely chopped for you, Again, you could put it back into the blender and give it a whirl in there, a blitz as some people like to call it, and or you can do it this hard way, which is with the pestle and mortar, and just grind it down. Ideally, you'd probably do it in 2 loads, but I'm feeling lazy, so I'm going to do it in 1. All right, I think that will do me. Got bored now. So we've got 1 more ingredient to go in that makes a pesto, properly a pesto, and that is some cheese. It's got to be a hard cheese. It's normally Parmesan cheese, and that's what we're going to use in this case. Just get out of the fridge. U-block in our case. Let me find a bowl. So we're going to grate about sort of 50 to 60 grams of this. It's another one of those things, a little bit to taste, but you'll need at least 50 grams of it. So on your grater, I mean, you can make it a thicker bit of grating if you want, but really nice fine grating is what you want. So this will keep you occupied for a little while. It's a bit of a process, takes a little while to do this if you're using the really fine bit on your grater. But we have finally made it to just over 50 grams. So let's just get any cheese stuck at the back out. Waste not, want not, as they say. There we go. Give it a good old mix around in a second. Just make sure we get it all. You could just present this in a nice bowl and eat it straight away with some nice bread or some pasta or something. Or you can store it for a while. We're going to use one of these parfait style jars. So this one's got the rubber seal you want, which help it preserve for a little while. When you do put it into these jars, you really want to keep it in the fridge. It'll keep it in the fridge for a week or 2 maximum. You probably have long ago scoffed it by then. You can keep this for longer by freezing it. Wouldn't freeze it in a jar though, a glass jar. You want to use a plastic container of some sort. And I have heard rumour you can make it into ice cubes as well, so you could use your ice cube tray and then you get little bits that you can freeze like that, and it will keep for a long time like that, even up to a year if it's done properly. But let's just put this into the jar for now. Need a steady hand for this bit. Or a bigger jar. Here we go, I think we're almost there. That'll do for now. So now put it away in the fridge and enjoy it in the not too distant future.